The banjo, one of the most emblematic instruments of American folk, bluegrass, and country music, possesses a history that is both rich and complex, stretching back centuries and encompassing multiple continents, cultures, and musical traditions, originating not in the United States, but in Africa, where similar stringed instruments with drum-like bodies were played by various ethnic groups for centuries, serving both ritualistic and social purposes. With early African instruments often constructed from gourds or hollow wooden bodies covered with animal skin, combined with a neck and gut or fiber strings, and used in ceremonies, storytelling, dance, and communal gatherings. And these early musical instruments were brought to the Americas through the transatlantic slave trade, where enslaved Africans adapted their traditional instruments to the new materials available in the Caribbean and the southern United States, particularly in regions such as Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, forming the first recognizable predecessors of the modern banjo, with historical accounts from the 17th and 18th centuries describing enslaved Africans in North America playing gourd-bodied stringed instruments, often with 4 strings, played using finger-picking techniques similar to those that would later define banjo music. While oral histories and early drawings illustrate these instruments being used for entertainment, religious ceremonies, and communal storytelling, reflecting the central role of music in African diasporic life. And although these instruments were initially confined to African American communities, they soon captured the attention of European-descended Americans during the early 19th century, as minstrel shows grew in popularity, with performers like Joel Walker Sweeney adapting and popularizing a 5-string version of the banjo among white audiences, introducing a 5th drone string, standardizing tunings and influencing the evolution of playing styles, making the banjo both a folk and entertainment instrument. Throughout the 19th century, luthiers experimented with replacing the gourd body with wooden rims, adding metal tension hoops, calfskin drumheads, and eventually synthetic materials, while finger-picking styles, clawhammer techniques, and strumming patterns spread throughout African American and white communities alike, integrating the instrument into folk, minstrel, and dance music traditions. And by the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the banjo had become firmly established in American musical culture, appearing in parlor music, vaudeville performances, and early recordings on phonographs, with virtuoso performers recording solos and accompaniment that disseminated the banjo's sound nationwide, influencing generations of musicians and listeners. In the early 20th century, the banjo became a mainstay of jazz and ragtime, particularly in New Orleans jazz bands, providing rhythmic drive and melodic ornamentation, with performers like Johnny St. Cyr, Eddie Peabody, and Fred Van Epps demonstrating its versatility, while the proliferation of radio broadcasts and phonograph recordings allowed the banjo to reach urban and rural audiences alike, embedding itself into American popular culture, even as the guitar began to gradually dominate rhythm sections and swing, and big bands, causing the banjo to become less prominent in some genres, but maintaining a strong presence in folk, country, and traditional music communities. In the Appalachian Mountains and other rural regions, the banjo became central to old-time and bluegrass music, with musicians developing regional styles and techniques that showcased the instrument's bright percussive tone. While the mid-20th century saw the folk revival elevate the banjo to new prominence, through performers like Pete Seeger, who modified open-back banjos to accompany songs of social commentary, labor movements, and civil rights advocacy, popularizing the instrument among new audiences while maintaining its historical roots. Simultaneously, Earl Scruggs revolutionized the instrument with the 3-finger picking technique known as Scruggs style, creating a driving syncopated rhythm that became the defining sound of bluegrass music, while other performers explored plectrum tenor and resonator variations, expanding the expressive possibilities of the instrument and adapting it to different musical genres. As recording technology, radio, and television expanded, The banjo reached international audiences, influencing musicians in Europe, Asia, and beyond, while academic studies traced its African roots, highlighting its journey across continents, the role it played in the African diaspora, and its integration into the diverse fabric of American music, bridging cultural divides and reflecting historical narratives of migration, adaptation, and innovation. Over the decades, luthiers continued to experiment with construction techniques, tuning systems, and materials, producing instruments with varying numbers of strings, different head types, and resonator configurations. While contemporary musicians have expanded the banjo into new genres, including jazz fusion, progressive folk, rock, and experimental music, using amplification, alternative tunings, and hybrid instruments to push the boundaries of sound, demonstrating that while the banjo has deep historical roots, it remains a living, evolving instrument. The banjo's cultural significance cannot be overstated, as it embodies a journey of survival, adaptation, and creative expression. From the sacred and communal music of Africa to the minstrel shows, parlor performances, and rural traditions of early America. Through the golden age of jazz, the Appalachian folk revival, and the bluegrass explosion, and into the modern era of international music festivals, recordings, and experimental compositions, serving as both a symbol of heritage and an instrument of innovation, with its bright, percussive tone continuing to resonate across generations, bridging past and present, tradition and experimentation, storytelling and performance, and maintaining its essential role in the evolution of music. Moreover, the banjo's story mirrors broader social and historical developments, illustrating the intersections of race, migration, and cultural exchange, showing how African musical traditions were preserved, adapted, and celebrated in the Americas, despite the hardships of slavery, oppression, and marginalization, influencing American musical identity, shaping genres like folk, country, bluegrass, jazz, and gospel, and inspiring countless musicians around the world. Today, the banjo is celebrated both as a historical artifact and as a contemporary instrument, with music festivals, academic studies, and virtuoso performers highlighting its enduring appeal, while innovations continue to enhance its sound and versatility, ensuring that the banjo's journey from ancient African stringed instruments through the enslaved communities of the Americas, minstrel shows, Appalachian folk traditions, jazz and ragtime, the bluegrass revolution, the folk revival, and modern experimentation remains a testament to human creativity, resilience, and the power of music to connect cultures, tell stories, and inspire generations, demonstrating that the banjo is more than an instrument. It is a living chronicle of history, culture, and artistic expression, whose bright twang and rhythmic drive continue to echo across the world, from the intimate parlor to the grand concert hall, preserving the legacy of its African roots while adapting to the endless possibilities of modern musical innovation. And as new generations of musicians continue to explore its sound, the banjo remains both a link to the past and a bridge to the future, a symbol of how music can travel across continents, survive social upheavals, and continue to evolve, making it one of the most enduring and beloved instruments in the history of human music.